picture he took of the house looked like it had a fingerprint on it. And he would like take the picture, he'd look and say, "It's all these lines like this on the picture." So, you know, so he's wiping off the lens, taking another picture, still got the lines. So he started taking pictures of trees and stuff like that. No lines.
Just on the house.
Just every picture he took of the house had these lines across it.
That's cool.
But not the trees and the flowers and the birds and stuff like that.
Just what he really, really wanted to get a photo of.
Yeah.
I've had that happen before.
No, but you know, if he's thinking it's something on his lens, it's like, no, it's probably the ghost. They just don't want him taking pictures today. Gotta come on out here. Now that's the floor to the original tower right there. The archaeologists moved that 4 years ago.
We don't want the
Where
mosquitoes.
it stood before they put the new wall in.
The erosion kept taking stuff.
Yes. Yeah, there was a wall there, and it took the wall away, and when it did, it exposed the foundation to the original tower, which was under about a foot of dirt, which we didn't know was there until you saw this circular shape that went about 4 feet deep into the ground. And it's like, okay.
There it is.
Yeah, so they dug that top off, and before they put the new wall in, the archaeologists came and dug it out first, moved it, so that we at least have the floor to the original tower. And of course, that's the bathrooms. We have a rudder from 1850s right there. And I do have to shut the alarm off in here. Hold on 1 minute.
It's buggy out here. That's
Yeah.
okay though. I have bug spray.
Here, oh, yes,
Okay, kind of warm in here too. The diesel engines and the gears right here would have been hooked to a fog bell like that that's out there on the grounds, okay? So in order to make the fog bell ring at a constant speed, they would start the diesel engine up, the belt would turn all the gears, and this would have been hooked to the bell striker,
Huh.
okay? And then they had the diesel engine that would have done a fog horn. After they got done with fog bells and they went to fog horns, that would make the fog horn work. And then these are electric fog horns right here, double acting fog horns. And this is the lamp changer that's up in the top of our tower. This is one the Coast Guard replaced. a couple years
So
ago.
simple and so tiny.
Yes, yes. Of course, that box goes, that cylinder goes with it, because that's got all the computer chips and stuff in it. Okay? Dress uniforms, of course. These wood carvings are from the Yap Islands. The Yap Islands are out by the Philippines. And there is one in the dining room next to the stove. There's a, looks like a tree stump. That is from the Yap Islands also. That was hand carved by the Yap Island people. You can see they have stones here that they're carrying and carving because they use stones for money. So we have Yap Island stone money over there and over here, and then one on the shelf over there. And I usually say, you know, how'd you like to go to McDonald's and
That's what I was just
get your
thinking.
burger and fries with this one? And then I always tell everybody the chunk's missing out, it's the change they get back. Okay, then you go to the grocery store and you use this stone right there. Lyle cannon, this is used for rescuing people offshore. You shoot out a rope, a heaving line like that, and it's it goes out to the boat and they attach it to the boat and then you pull them in. Or if people are in the water, you shoot the line out with floats on it and then they grab a hold, you know, and wrap it around and then you pull them in. This is kind of what it would look like if they were shooting one off. Of course, it can be different sizes depending on where it would be. And of course, you want to steer the ship. You use the compasses and the gyroscopes, steering wheel. These are engine order telegraphs, these two things right here. You tell the engine room what you want to do by moving the handles. When you move the handles, bells ring here and in the engine room, and then the engine room responds, and then the bell shuts off. And you see one of those like in the Titanic movie.
Right.
Yeah.
And he takes the two handles and he puts them as far apart as possible. That makes the ship turn as quickly as it can.
Okay.
Of course, they didn't have enough room. This light right here was the pier light that was on the tall tower that we have. And over here we have our flare gun and our navigation tools and items like this cask. This floated ashore at one time. Along a lot of these tools and stuff they found at the bottom of the lake. You know, pieces of wood like this would wash ashore periodically off of different ships and stuff. Scuba divers used to be able to go down and take things out of the lake. That is now illegal. You have to leave them in the lake.
Leave it to the marine archaeologists.
Yeah. These dioramas right in here, these are all made from photographs taken during World War II. So this man took photographs and his grandson took the photographs and turned them into these 3D representations of what his grandfather saw.
That's
Wow.
cool. It's really detailed.
Sampson Naval Training Station in
Of
New
course,
York.
you know, Seco being like the name brand back then too. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Actually, the local jeweler's brother-in-law is on our Lighthouse board, so anytime they want to get rid of any of their display cases, he
Right.
calls us and we take them. The wedding dress is in one of those also. That we've just painted the whole thing black so you can't see the Seiko name on it. You know, we cut out this right here and we cut out one of these and put plexiglass in there so you can actually see the dress to the
All the way
bottom.
to the bottom.
Yeah. All right, this boat right here is called a 6-hour boat because you can put one together in 6 hours. May only float for 6 hours, but you can put it together for 6 hours. Back during Prohibition, they used to use these to go across the lake to Canada to get alcohol. Wow. PT 109, of course.
Yeah.
This is a lens clock mechanism like the one that was up in our tower. This is not the one from our tower. Ours, you had to wind every 4 hours. This one you had to wind every 2.
Ugh.
So, if you were in that lighthouse, you went up at 6 o'clock at night, 8 o'clock, 10, 12, 2, 4, and 6. So you go up 7 times a night just to wind the clock.
How much
Ours
you
was
sleep?
every 4 hours, so it was 6, 10, 2, and 6.
In
Well,
between.
actually, a lot of times, the kids who misbehaved, that was one of their punishments, was to go up in the middle of the night and wind the clock.
That's a great punishment.
I know.
Wasn't it? Well, there was
That's a
no,
pretty good one.
there were no child labor laws, and there was no child protection services at that time, you know, so.
I think the only thing they would probably have a problem with is the whole up in a lighthouse, you know.
Yeah, but if you
open
if you grow up in the
Yeah, it's
lighthouse,
like
that is
nothing.
not a,
Right.
usually a problem for you.
Yeah.
Okay, this case is dedicated to submarines. USS Cod is a submarine that is stationed in Cleveland. It's like the Croaker that sits in the Buffalo Harbor that you can tour. Okay, so these are just items off of submarines, and we have our torpedo here.
That thing is
This is
much
a
bigger.
Mark 14 torpedo. It is 21 feet long, 21 inches in diameter, weighs 2,500 pounds.
Whoa. That is much bigger than
They
any of
use
the movies.
they use compressed air in them to make them move. They have 2 propellers. One propeller goes left, the other one goes right. That's what makes them go in a straight line. If they had only one propeller, they would go around in a circle. And of course, torpedoes going around in a circle aren't a real good idea. They have a range of about 3,500 yards before they run out of propulsion. That's a little seagull motor.
I know I have one.
Do you?
Yep. And it still runs.
Well, this one, we haven't turned it on, so I have no idea if it would still run or not. But
They're cool.
it
They're cool
probably
to they're
would.
cool to play around with.
Yes. One of the guys on our
Giant spider.
that volunteers here,
Similar one for trolling.
he made one of the little 6-hour boats, but he took the back end of it and flattened it out so he could put his trolling motor on it and use it as a little trolling boat for fishing, because that's what he likes to do most of the time.
That's why I liked it.
So he, you'd fit in really well here, because they do like to go fishing all the time.
I just like being on a boat.
I like being on cruise ships in the Caribbean is what I like.
I like
I've never been on a boat in Lake Erie. I've lived here my entire life. I've never been on a boat in Lake Erie.
Well, if I lived down here, I would.
Yeah, most people do. And I have 2 brothers-in-law that both have boats. But they like to go out like at 7 o'clock in the morning and stay out all day. And I can't do that. I can't
could.
take the sun.
I'm like
So-
you. Just give me a chair and a cooler, and I'm good to go.
Well, if I had the shade and an air conditioner, I'd be all right. I like the heat, but I don't like the sun.
Right.
I
Well, my
can't
boat's
sit
got
in
a
the sun.
canopy on it, so
Yeah, but they
It's not
like
too
to
bad.
go out all day, and I said if you go out for a couple of hours and then drop me off, I'll be fine. But they don't ever do that, so I never go on the boat.
you're right.
Okay, There's a list of the 3,505 men who lost their lives on the 52 submarines in World War II right there. These patches are all hand-painted on canvas sails of World War II submarines, and they were painted by a World War II submariner. Okay? They really are quite nice. He did a beautiful job. This one right here is the Finback. The Finback is the submarine that rescued President Bush when his plane went down in World War II. Which is why we have a little plane on the submarine, because of course airplanes don't land on submarines. But submarines do rescue people who crash into the ocean. Okay. This ship right here is the Erie. This sunk in Lake Erie off of Silver Creek, which is just 10 miles up the way towards Buffalo, in 1841 because it caught on fire. It was carrying 200 passengers. Most of them were Swiss and German immigrants. The boat was going from Buffalo to Chicago with a stop off in Erie, and 6 of the passengers were painters, and they were going to Erie to paint another steamship. They set their kerosene and their turpentine directly on the floor above the boilers, and it blew up and burnt the ship. Only 29 people survive. The rest of them washed ashore for weeks, and they're buried in one of the local cemeteries in town. There was a steamship called the DeWitt Clinton coming out of the Dunkirk harbor, and this happened like 8 o'clock at night, and he saw the flames, so he went over and he picked up 27 of the passengers, and then a little boat came out of Silver Creek and picked up the other 2 that were still alive. The rest of them were all
Bears.
all because these painters who paint steamships put their paint and their turpentine on
Careless.
top of the boilers. Now, if they paint ships for a living, wouldn't you think they would know better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very careless. Honestly.
Yes. Yes.
That were inexperienced and said that they were experienced.
Something. Of course, we will never know.
No, of course.
But,
I'm sure
you know,
they weren't the ones who survived.
Right.
probably not. And if they were, they probably didn't tell you that.
Right.
I have no idea how that fire
Well,
started, but
kept
it wasn't me.
What do you do for a living? Nothing.
Yeah. Right.
I don't paint.
I bag groceries.
Yeah. It was in 1841. I'm
No,
not
I-
really sure they had people bagging
Probably
groceries. Okay, so pretty much that's this building.
What's up with the boat? The Coast Guard boat out front with little stairs that go up to it?
That's a buoy tender. You can't go on it
Okay.
because the stairs actually aren't hooked to the boat. They just kind of sit there. And the insurance company said unless you actually attach the steps to the boat and the boat itself, because it's a buoy tender, when you stand on top, there's a big hole that the buoys sit in. That has to be all like fenced around so that people can't fall down into that. We're working on that.
Gotcha.
That's been here for several years, and
So,
it just kind of
Take that as a no, Phil, for getting on it.
there. Although I did have some people taking engagement pictures, and they went. I let them up there for a fee, of course, but I did let them up there, and they took pictures.
Stop working on your wallet, Phil.